Well, it's good afternoon now, folks. Just a quick sound check for the recording secretary, if you can let us know whether or not you can hear me okay. Good afternoon, and again, everybody, I'm really sorry about this delay, and again, thanks to everybody for your patience. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman, and I will be chairing this hearing, and panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Joanne Hayes, Zahir Bayat, Peter Reid, and Lisa Valentini. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the agent or applicant will proceed first with a presentation of the application. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Okay, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I know that the minutes have been looked at by the members. They've been confirmed, but I think we weren't heard before. So Ms. Hayes was the mover and Mr. Bayat was the seconder. So if I can just get you to do the motion again, please.
Sure, through you, Madam Chair, I move to approve both the morning and afternoon minutes for November 17th.
Okay, and Mr. Bayat, you second. So that motion to adopt the 2 meetings, AM and PM of November 17th, is moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, so those minutes have been adopted unanimously. And are there any declarations of interest, either by staff or panel members? Mr. Reid.
Thank you. Item number 26, 242 Concord. I'm an acquaintance of individuals associated with the application, so I'll sit it out.
Okay, that's actually in the afternoon session, so I might need you to declare again, but I'll make a note of it. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. And are there any files to be closed, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, nothing for today.
And I believe a deferral request.
Yes.
One.
There is one deferral request, item number 244 Wilson Park Road.
Okay, thank you. We'll just do them in order because it's the second item. All right. Panel members, we're going to start. Item number 1 is 110 Wellesley Street. And we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from Mr. Gomez, the agent, and I don't show any speakers listed. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Sebastian Gomez. I'm here on behalf of the TTC for 110 Wellesley Street West.
Okay, good afternoon. Panel members, I don't know if we need a presentation on this one. No. Do you have any questions for the agent? No questions. Mr. Gomez, we've read all the materials. We're ready to make a decision on this. Is there anything you want to add that wasn't in the submissions?
No, thank you.
Okay, let's take it into committee for a decision, panel members. Ms. Valentini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is an expansion of a legal non-conforming use to add a second subway exit. In my view, this application meets the test for an expansion of a legal non-conforming use. It'll provide more accessibility to the station and allow egress, increase egress capacity. So I think that suits everybody's needs. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval without any conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Mr. Reid? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, item number 2 is 44 Wilson Park Road. I'll just read what we have before us, although, as you heard, a deferral is being requested. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from the agent, as well as email correspondence and pre-circulation email correspondence and a red line site plan. We have a staff report from engineering. Forestry was asking for condition number 1, and we received a planning report in our supplemental agenda. We have a lot of opposition correspondence. I'm not going to list them all. They're from King Street, residents on Wilson Park Road. And let's see here in the and on Buller Avenue. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Having said that, we have 4 speakers, panel members, and I'll go to the agent first to find out why a deferral is needed. So is the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Tyler Grenier, and I'm a planning partner at Bousfields and the agent on behalf of the owners.
Okay, did you touch base with any residents on the deferral?
Personally, no. We had some comments come up about a week ago on the date where submissions were due from planning staff and buildings. And we have been working through some interpretation differences of opinion over the last week. I believe we are close to resolving that. Unfortunately, we were meeting as recently as yesterday, and both sides agreed that it would be best to defer until perhaps January. So we have more time to resolve the issues, review the comments presented by the residents through submissions, and potentially come back with some revisions that would reduce variances.
Okay, so you're basically looking for a deferral to possibly make some revisions and to continue working with staff, and you would also be working with the residents?
That's
So-
correct.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the people I have listed briefly on the deferral. So do I have Emily McMahon on the line?
Yes, I'm
Hi.
here.
Hi, Emily. The applicant, we're not hearing the item today, strictly to the deferral. The deferral will be, as I understand it, speaking to residents and also continue to work with staff to make possible revisions to the application. So are you in favor of a deferral?
I would prefer to settle this today.
I'm sorry?
I would prefer to settle this today.
Okay, so you're not in favor of deferral?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Can I move to the next person?
Hi, this is Sanjit Sohal.
Hi,
I'm not in favor.
You are in favor?
I am not in favor of deferral.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do I have the next person on the line?
Tracy, you have been unmuted.
Hi, Tracy.
Thank you. Hi. I am not in favor.
Okay, thank you. And do I have Mr., is it Kian Lamson?
Yeah, if you can hear me, you have me here.
Yeah, I can hear you. To the,
Okay.
to the deferral only, are you in favor of a deferral?
I am not in favor of the deferral.
Okay, thank you. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee on the deferral only. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. For review of all the materials on file and then the supplementary material that was just received by the committee yesterday, the initial covering letter that spoke to different things that were noted in the notice and the condition that planning had noted in its report, which spoke to, if it was approved tying it, that if there were any other variances, they wouldn't be part of any approval if the committee had determined to do this, tells me that there is still some issue with respect to what the true nature of this proposal is and what the totality of the variances, both in number and degree, are. And given that there's a lot of opposition in the neighborhood, I think it is prudent that the committee know exactly what this proposal entails and that the variances are identified accurately before we give consideration to the proposal, and I would agree to a deferral.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to weigh in on this? No? Okay, Ms. Hayes, did you want to move a motion?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I would move to defer the application to allow for clarity of the variances and discussion with those who have noted objection to the application.
All right, do I have a seconder for that, Mr. Reed? So I have a motion to defer this item, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Okay, the application has been deferred unanimously. So to the people listening, there will be, once the applicant is ready to come back before committee, There will be another circulation, so you will be notified of when it's next on an agenda. And again, thank you for your patience this morning. Okay, let's go to item number 3, 138 PARKMOUNT Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and we have correspondence in opposition from 136, and I believe they are listed as speakers. I actually have 2 speakers listed. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
Hi, and sorry, Mr. D'Oliveira, I neglected to mention that we got in our supplemental agenda a 14 signature petition from residents on PARKMOUNT Road and Monarch Park Avenue. So, okay, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mike D'Oliveira. I'm the agent on behalf of PARKMOUNT Road, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road. So, would you like a full presentation?
Yeah, we're going to need a presentation, so I'm going to start the clock now, and then we'll hear from the speakers. So go ahead.
Certainly. So we're seeking relief to the bylaws today to create a 3rd floor addition. The variances we are seeking are among similar approvals the community has allowed in the past. As you mentioned, we have a 14 signature signed petition from people in the neighborhood. Upon designing the addition, it was important for us and the homeowners that we limit the increase to the overall footprint of the building as much as possible. We work closely with community planning. We worked with Sean from community planning to adjust our application to bring down a few of the variances and overall FSI. We did some adjustments to the way the 3rd floor addition was done. Originally, we had a bit more of a larger 3rd floor. We've cut that back now. We now step in at the front and rear of the property. Our 2nd floor actually sticks out further than our 3rd floor addition. So we're actually stepping things back a bit more than what's there currently. Doing all this helped us to minimize the overall impact. We don't have that kind of towering look at the front or the back of the house if we had done the 3rd floor fully in line. So we have tried to mitigate any concerns moving forward with this application. We've stepped things where possible to also cut down on any kind of shadowing in the area. Although we're asking for 1 times the density, this is well in line with other approvals in the area, and the existing house is actually over the density as is. Compared to the existing condition, we're only asking for 0.28 FSI or 46.15 square meters more than the existing condition. As I mentioned, there's other approvals in the area. 136 Felstead was approved for a similar FSI of 1.03, and these are similar size lots. Height is also well within some approvals in the area, such as 93 PARKMOUNT. They were approved for 9.85. We're looking for 9.64. So we're kind of well within differences in the area. And the existing peak of the house is 8 meters as is. So if you look at the existing peak of the roof, we're only really adding another 5 feet beyond that, or 1.6 meters. So it's well in line with other approvals that's been in the area. Our client has a growing family, so this is providing additional space they need. Hoping any questions you might have.
Okay, panel members, do you want to hold your questions till we hear from the opposition? Okay, thank you, Mr. D'Oliveira. I will come back to you. Do I have Timothy Ip on the line?
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name is Timothy Ip. I'm representative of the owner for 136 PARKMOUNT Road.
Okay.
Which is the attached semi. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to start the clock, and you have 5 minutes to address the committee.
Okay. Well, I guess first off, we sent a letter about this. I guess our main talking point would be that this variance that's being requested is not minor in nature. I'm not really familiar with other allowances that the applicant is talking about, because every house on PARKMOUNT, at least for semi-detaches, are not 3-story. So I believe this really will go against the original plan and zoning bylaw of the neighborhood. We are the attaching semi for the proposed property that's asking for this variance. And we have a lot of concerns, obviously, for maybe like privacy, lighting, slope. It is a very old building. My understanding, over 100 years old. We've been there for over 30 years. And of the many things, this is like this is passed through, the neighborhood is going to change, and this would kind of set a precedent that I'm not sure a lot of people would like. Like I said, I'm not familiar with any other semi-detached on PARKMOUNT that has a third story. But that, construction would definitely be a disturbance for a lot of us, since all of us work at home, for everyone that lives there, and our tenants. But yes, I think I've touched on most of the points, but I guess the question is like, what's the necessity of this? And it's not really a minor variance. I really believe this is a major one. Sorry, my son. But yeah, if I can answer any questions as well.
Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ip. Do I have?
Yep.
Thank you. Do I have Claire on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you also state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Claire Zaya, and I live at 140 PARKMOUNT Road.
Okay.
So
I'm starting the clock now. Okay, go ahead.
thank you. We are the non-attached neighbor to the house of 138 PARKMOUNT Road. And while I very much appreciate how the neighbors have gone about approaching and talking to us a little bit on the street about what the renovations entail, the more I've been able to sit with it and think about it, I actually currently use the middle bedroom where the window faces their house as our office, and it will eventually be my kids' bedroom when it is over, or when I get kicked out of here and my office moves somewhere else. And I'm deeply concerned about the sunlight. Right now, there is a view of the sky, and I get some vitamin D in and some wonderful natural light into this small bedroom. And if there's a third story attached and added to the house south of us, then that sunlight will no longer stream into this room. And that will greatly affect our well-being and our living and the way we are used to living in this house, in our property. And I understand that it's just a differing of opinions, and I appreciate what my neighbors are trying to do. And I just feel the need to point out that the sunlight will be greatly changed on our property as we are north of them, and also affected into our garden in the backyard, and the hours of sunlight that will reach there. So I appreciate the time today, and I appreciate just being able to be heard and share my piece. Thank you.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you. Mr. D'Oliveira, are you there?
Hi, sorry, I was muted there for a moment.
Okay.
So
can you just
certainly yeah, okay. So we understand the concerns about lighting and any shadowing that would happen with the addition. Currently, the neighbor who just spoke last year, the space between the two houses is about 4 feet in total. The existing height of the structure and the proximity between the two properties really is going to have very minimal changes, if anything, with this addition to any additional shadowing on their property. We've done some preliminary checks of the shadowing overall, and it's more or less the same as what's currently there. As I mentioned earlier, we're just going about 5 feet more than the overall peak of the house as is. So there's very minimal changes. We've stepped the front and rear of the property, so that also helps kind of break down any additional shadowing that's going to happen to their backyards for either side, really. As for third floors in the area, there's actually quite a few third floors. I can see 136, PARKMOUNT, 134, 78, 80. I can go on and on with some other addresses here, but 118, 120. There's plenty of third floors in the area. If you look even across the street, like 5 doors over, there's a similar addition that we're doing here, front rear addition, larger dormer than what we're proposing. That was approved. It's all been built already. So third floors are very common in the neighborhood. We have no variances related to the fact that we have a third floor. It's the overall height. So this is something permitted in the area. I know in the initial letters, there was some concerns about structure, integrity of the roof, and any additional costs. Those are all kind of things that would be dealt with between the contractor, the homeowner. There's concerns mentioned about noise and debris. These are all things that are part of regular construction and are going to be mitigated as much as possible. If there's any circumstances where this is kind of over the top and is beyond the general hours of construction, you know, that those kind of concerns can always be relayed back to the contractor or the homeowner. And if they're not mitigated, then, you know, they can move forward to the city planning departments and general inspector to deal with any issues that arise. So I think those kind of concerns will be quite minimal. Our clients are aware that people are working from home. Part of this addition is to allow for their own lived workspace as well. So this is a concern that they share, and they're going to try and mitigate any issues as much as possible. Open any questions you might have.
Well, let me find out. Panel members, do you have any questions? Okay, we don't have any questions, so we're ready to go into committee. Unless there's something you want to add that's not in the submissions or hasn't been said already.
I'd like to point out, we also had initial discussions with the attached neighbor earlier on the project. We were kind of surprised that they came back with these comments now after the initial conversations. We didn't seem to have any major issues, but unfortunately that's what we're dealing with now. And we're going to try and and keep things civil and mitigate any issues we can moving forward. But our owners are there if they have any concerns while construction's happening. You know, we're willing to listen.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Reid and then Mr. Bayat.
Thanks, Chair. I support this, excuse me, I support this application. I think that there has been some care taken to step it back from the front and the rear of the house, and I think that does go away to minimizing the bulk of the addition. Plus, the fact that it stays within the footprint of the existing house, I think is a positive thing. So I'll pass it over to Zahir.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to echo my colleague Mr. Reid's comments and observations. I'm also in favor of approving this application. It's something that's very common in the city, and the applicant certainly has expressed all the concerns that may arise during construction, which beyond our purview. But I'd be happy to second this motion should Mr. Reid move a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Reid, go ahead.
I move a motion to approve with no conditions.
Okay, and that's seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 4, 489 Scarborough Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have forestry asking for condition number 2. We have an 11 signature petition in support of this application. And do I have the agent on the line? I don't show any speakers listed here.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Good
Can
afternoon, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Can I have your name
Yes,
for the record? The sounds.
Sure. My name is James Wright. I'm the agent for the property.
Okay. Panel members, do you need a presentation on this? Okay, Mr. Tran, we've read all the materials. We're ready to take it into committee to make a decision. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No.
Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee then. Ms. Valentini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've reviewed all the materials and I am in support of this application. I did note that the two-story addition that's proposed in this case is going to match the depth of the attached neighbors addition. So I think this will fit nicely within what's already in the sort of the surrounding context. So that being said, I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything, but I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval. In my view, it meets the 4 tests and it would be subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. So motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Next item is item number 5, 300 Willard Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have forestry asking for condition number 1. We have 3 form letters in support. And I don't have any speakers listed other than the agent. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hi, Simon, you're unmuted.
Hi, my name is Simon West. I'm the designer as well as the agent for this project.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, this is truly a minor variance. I don't think we need a presentation. Mr. West, we've read all the material. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No.
Okay. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Hayes.
Just one minor point about the purpose. It should be by constructing a second-story addition versus a secondary story front addition. Minor, but having said that, I believe this application is indeed minor. It's appropriate. It's not out of character of the area. And if my colleagues have no further comments, I'd move to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, so do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat. So motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes and seconded by Mr. Bayat, including forestry condition number 1. All in favor? Application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 6, 1305 Woodbine Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have presentation materials from Mr. Mastandrea, the agent, and we have in our supplemental agenda that we received late yesterday, we have 2 form letters in support from 1303, which is adjacent, and 176 Holborn Avenue, and I'm not showing any speakers. Okay, are you there, Mr. Mastandrea?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leo Mastandrea. I'm the agent for the owners of 1305 Woodbine.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation? Do any of you have any questions? Okay, Mr. Mastandrea, we're ready to take this into committee for a decision. Is there anything you want to add? We've read all the materials. Is there anything you feel we need to know that's not in the submissions?
No, I think it's consistent.
Okay. All right, panel members, we're in committee. Ms. Valentini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've reviewed all the materials. I did note that Mr. Mastandrea has provided comparables in terms of in the surrounding area in terms of the height variance requested in the FSI. So I'm satisfied that this proposal is going to be in keeping with the context in the current neighborhood now. And I did note that the house next door has a height of 9.24 meters. So I'm happy to support this application. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything further, but I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application without any conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Mr. Reed? All right, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, item number 7, 58 Beverley Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, a revised site plan, floor plans and elevations, covering letter from the agent. Also, an urban forestry permit was sent in by the agent. Correspondence in opposition from number 62, who's also listed as a speaker, as well as number 56. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Yes, this is Bamdad Baghdadi from BBA Design Studio. I'm the architect and applicant for this application before you today.
Hi, just a quick question. I don't know if I read correctly. Are you removing a variance? Are you removing variance number 2? Unless I misunderstood.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Yes, correct, Madam.
Do you want to do that before we get started then? Because, and then I'll have you do a presentation because we do have 2 opposition speakers.
Sure, Madam Chair. We are removing variance number 2 related to the secondary unit area, which is more than 45%. We are keeping the house as single-family dwelling.
Okay, so the only variance left before us then is variance number 1, which is the FSI for 1.25. Is that correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I'm going to start the clock, and you have 5 minutes, and then we'll go to the opposition speakers.
Thank you. So the application before you is a regular townhouse with existing 2 bedrooms and spaces divided between the floor plans. What we originally decided to do is to convert this house into 2 units and have a laneway in the back, but then due to the ECS comments and the fact that our laneway doesn't have any variances, we decided to remove that laneway from the application. And then we find out that if we have 2 units in the house and later on propose a laneway, we are subject to park levies, more than 50,000 payments. So we decided to remove the secondary unit and keep the entire house as 1 unit. This house is located in a mixed zoning area from 1 to 2.5 times lot area, surrounded by condominium high rises. We all know after COVID, we need more rooms in terms of bedroom/offices, as the committee members right now are sitting in their room and they close the doors so the pets and kids cannot interrupt. What we're proposing is basically adding a master bedroom on the 3rd floor rear without touching the front of the townhouse to keep the character of the neighborhood intact. And we have the agreement from our adjacent neighbor on number 60, which is right attached to us and which is part of the committee agenda. And they have no objection to our application. And I'm very sure I can address the rest of the comments after I hear our neighbors and hear their concerns. Thank you.
Okay, panel members, we can hold questions till after we hear the speakers. So do I have, not sure if I pronounce this right, Sita Ramkalawansing on the line?
Yes, you do. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please? And then I will start the clock and you'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Sita Ramkalawansing. I live at number 62 Beverley Street, which is about 18 feet away from the property in question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm starting the clock now. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. My letter to you, dated November the 22nd, outlines my opposition to this application. There is no rationale for the increased density other than it's a small house, nor is there, and specifically no explanation for the 3rd floor expansion. I have noted in my letter that I've lived on this block for 50 years, 50 years. Every single house on this block has been renovated because they're all over 100 years old. In all of those renovations, not a single house has added an expansion to the 3rd floor. And there's a photo that I've attached to my letter, which you can see that. In my additional letter, I also noted that in the plans, we see the following: 7 washrooms, 1 gym, 1 rec room, 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 1 sitting room, 1 dining room, 1 kitchen. We're not sure whether this is actually going to be a single family house. We believe this is a stocking house for a rooming house. And I've actually spoken to some of my neighbors about this, and they also have a similar concern. In the applicant's response to my letter, they provide a number of addresses where there are additional densities. But you can see that none of them are on this block. We don't know what the basis of those approvals were. We don't know the number of units were involved. With respect to whatever agreement there might be with the owner of number 60 Beverley, I've spoken to her. We do not know what the details of that are. And nor have we seen the details of that agreement. I do note this on the photograph that there is a privacy screen, but that house is currently under renovations, so we don't know whether or not that will remain. In my view, this proposal will set a very bad precedent for the street. As I indicated before, none of the houses on this block, including my own, have an addition which extends beyond that wall. Everything just lines up. There are no 3rd floor additions. And if there's a secondary suite, which we actually think would be a good idea, my view is that it should be built within the existing building structure. On this block, nearly all of the homes are owner occupied. There are some where there are tenants, and there are maybe 4 of the houses, there are 16 houses in the block, where there are 2 units where there are tenants in them. So I don't completely understand the argument about the house not being big enough when every single house on the street has been able to be renovated and to have have uses which fit their family. So we don't actually know what is going to happen here. So I urge this committee to refuse this application for the 3rd floor addition and for the increase in density.
Thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, no questions. Thank you. Do I have Peter Moss on the line?
Hello?
Hi. Can I ask you to state your name and address for the record, please?
It's Peter Moss at 56 Beverly Street.
Okay, I'm going to start the clock now, sir. You have 5 minutes.
I don't think I'll need 5 minutes. I'm really calling in support of Sita around Kalawinting. I live on the other side of the house, and I also, having looked at the documents that have been provided, have doubts about the size and the nature of the application. It doesn't look like a single-family unit. I've been through renovations on the south side of our house here at number 54, and it took a long time, and it was quite extensive, and it's quite beautiful, and the same is true 2 houses down. I just don't see how that kind of renovation will really just be a single family. That makes me very nervous. I was particularly concerned about the laneway, but I see that that's been removed from the application, and so I have nothing to say about that. But I also feel a bit concerned that this kind of renovation will not be a single family unit, and that makes me nervous, and that's why I am supporting the letter that CETA has submitted. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Baghdadi, are you there?
Madam Chair, I'm here, and thank you. Just briefly, I'm very sure new generation, when they move in, they will require different spaces and more spaces as offices and recreational and entertainment spaces. Every house is different. I understand that within this couple of or few houses, nobody has that rear addition so far, but I'm very sure by the time passes and new people, new generation will move in, they will require more spaces. Let me just clear everybody's mind. This is not going to be a rooming house. It's a normal house. Every bedroom has a washroom, which is very normal. And there is other washroom extra on each floor for the people, for the dining room, for the family room, for guests. And there's only one kitchen. And when we go through the permit application, of course, we're going to maintain the plan before you. We're not going to change this to a rooming house. That's not the intention of my client. And regarding the previous or other applications that's been approved in this neighborhood, again, this is a mixed zoning neighborhood from high rises right in front of us. It's a tower right on the east side of Beverly, to which has a 2.5 times zoning and other zoning all around the neighborhood. We are well below what's been approved as a townhouse in this neighborhood, which I provided committee with some of the addresses that they had the 3rd floor extension at Sullivan and Grange and so on. I believe our application is minor and meets the character of the neighborhood, especially the 3rd floor addition is in the back, which is not even visible from the street. It's not going to affect any of the neighbors in terms of shadow, which I provided the shadow study. And since we are not touching the front, the character of these townhouses will be saved and no changes will be implemented into those front elevations. It will be only visible from the back lane, which is not something that anybody uses except the homeowners when they're going to park their cars in the garages. I hope I could rectify the concerns regarding the number of units and rooms. This is a normal house, 3 bedroom, 3 washroom, each bedroom. And there's no intention for a rooming house. We're not going to even convert it to a 2 units because, again, I explained later on when we go for a permit for a laneway, it's going to be difficult for us to pay the cost of that laneway. Thank you.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat and then Ms. Valentini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for one first item, the purpose of the application, I believe, also requires alteration. The second sentence, this townhouse will contain 1 secondary unit. Mr. Baghdadi, I believe that should now be deleted as well. Is that correct?
Yes, you're correct, Mr. Bayat. We're going to keep this house as a single family dwelling.
Okay, so we'll just have a 1 sentence purpose to alter the existing 2 1/2 story townhouse dwelling by constructing a rear 3rd story addition. This brings me to my next question, Mr. Baghdadi. In Ms. Sita Ramkalawan Singham's letter that she sent, she's got some photographs taken presumably from her 2nd floor. Is it a patio at the back? I wonder if we could have that brought up, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we're just getting them. Just bear with us a second.
Thanks.
Photographs. Yeah, the up.
Thank you.
That one?
So if yes, this is the one. So Mr. Baghdadi, if we're looking at presumably this is from the neighbor's back porch, where would your 3rd floor be in the context of this image? Would it be extending from, say, that the double sliding door that I see on the left-hand side of the photograph, or is it above that?
If I may, committee, to please bring up the my report that I sent to the committee on November 24th, and if we can see page 3, please, and zoom into that picture. Yeah, I'm showing 3 red lines. Basically, the fence that you're seeing with the bottom red line, it's an existing fence that we have. It's almost 5 feet high. The second red line, which is in the middle, it's actually the pergola of our neighbor on number 56. And our roof will be more or less in line with the mid red line, projecting out from the left to the right. And basically what you see is not going to block anyone's view. In this picture also, you will see an evergreen tree on the far right side, which I believe it's the tree between number 62 and 60, which already blocking their view and casting shadow on their property. So what we're asking is basically, we are almost maintaining the roof line of the pergolas of our number 60 neighbor, and we're not going any higher. That was part of the agreement between us and number 60, that we cannot raise it over the existing gutter of the roof to maintain the height within the reasonable amount.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Valentini?
Thank you. So just to expand upon that, because I thought it was going to be the top red line that looks like you outlined a building in the distance. That's not how high the addition is going to be. It's going to be as high as the middle red line. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was just explaining that the top red line is the actual building far away, and that is still going to be visible when we build our addition within the middle red line, which is our roof gutter.
One other thing, when I was looking at the plans, I just found the floor plans to be a little bit, I suppose, unusual in the sense that the kitchen looks like it's on the second floor and the first, are those floor plans swapped, or is that just how they're choosing to lay the house out?
Well, originally we designed this house as 2 units, and that this is the original layout. Then the owner, we decided to remove one of the kitchens, and the owner said they want to remove the kitchen on the lower level and keep the kitchen on the second level, close to the dining room and the bedroom, and also closer to the master bedroom on the 3rd floor.
So there's no intention to turn this into 2 units after the fact then? I just found,
no.
After the neighbors had pointed that out, I found that to be a little different than, but those are the correct floor plans. These are not something that's incorrect?
These are the actual floor plans, and we have no intention of converting into the 2 units, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, we're ready to go into committee. Anything else you need to add that isn't in the submissions or hasn't been said already, Mr. Baghdadi?
I'm good, thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you. All right, panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Reid.
Thank you. I was surprised by the level of opposition to this application because I think it's really quite straightforward and sensitive, particularly with the secondary suite being removed. Now we just have the one variance, and I think the fact that it has made efforts to be, not extend up higher than it is, and we often see these going up much higher in the back. I think this is a sensitive and supportable application. So if my colleagues have nothing to add, I would like to move an application to approve move a motion to approve the amended application with no conditions.
Okay, Mr. Bayat seconds. All right, so I have a motion to approve the application as amended, which is removing variance number 2, as well as revising the purpose to remove the reference to the secondary suite. Moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 818 Eastern Avenue. This is an application to permit a dog daycare center or daycare and boarding use. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the existing building, covering letter from Mr. Chan, the agent, as well as planning rationale. We have the correspondence from the TRCA. I believe they had no concerns. We have a staff report asking for refusal by planning. We have another letter, correspondence from the councillor, also asking for refusal. Significant opposition from residents on Brick Court, Leslie Street, as well as a petition from both of those streets. And then we received in our supplemental agenda, I'm not going to read them all, I've got almost 2 pages of names. 65 people signed a petition in support of the application, and the addresses they're sort of spread all over the place, so I'm not sure if these are residents living, I think they're living both in and outside of the area. There was a revised covering letter that we also received late last night from the agent, copy of the waste management services account from the applicant, as well as another presentation materials package, copy of estimated breakdowns with attachments, and an operator response. I am showing 6 people listed. 1, I believe, is not speaking, but I'll double check that, or with staff in a minute. Okay, so we have 5 speakers listed. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm just confirming that you can hear me when I'm speaking.
I can, but you kind of sound a little bit distant, in and out, if you will. Can you just do another test?
Let me bring the microphone closer. Does that work better, Madam Chair?
Yeah, that's way better, 100% better.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so if you can just state your name for the record, and then I'll start the clock at 5 minutes once you start, once you've identified yourself.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Christian Chan. I'm the agent for the applicant Solmutz Toronto Limited, the operator of the dog walking and daycare and overnight boarding kennel. My address is 157 Adelaide Street, West Toronto, Ontario, and of C2 Planning, Land Use Planning Consultants. So I'll go into my presentation. So the Solmutz was previously operating at 39 Commissioner Street in the Parklands, but it was expropriated by the City of Toronto in 2018 for the waterfront revitalization pertaining to the renaturalization of the Don River and creation of Villiers Island. In order to continue their business, they signed a lease with the property owner of 818 Eastern Avenue. It is operating right now, but seeks a retroactive approval for the currently operating dog daycare and boarding service on the lands. So just to go into explain a little bit of history here, bylaw 4386 applies to the subject lands, and kennels are not a recognized, defined, or permitted use in the entirety of the bylaw. So it's a use that's not at all recognized. Despite this, and as explored in the planning analysis provided pursuant to my cover letter, the majority of the dog daycare and boarding kennels in the former City of Toronto exists on lands designated and in most cases zoned as mixed-use areas. So if we can jump to attachment A of my planning report, we provide a chart that reviews our existing, a review of the existing dog and daycare kennel facilities. And we can see here that they are predominantly located in mixed-use zones with adjacent low and mid-rise and high-rise residential development in different situations. And the majority of these daycare and boarding kennels are located on major streets and zoned as commercial residential and within designated mixed-use areas. So the proposal is located on a major street. It's zoned as industrial districts in the old bylaw and designated as mixed-use areas in the OP. The spatial land use relationship is also to low and density residential areas to the north, just like most of that are explained in the chart here. We've also provided a photo book that shows these existing kennel operations and their zoning, which are also predominantly CR zones and mixed-use designation. So in our opinion, it's logical for the committee to extend the land use permission for this kennel on the subject lands because it is designated mixed-use areas and industrial zone as I1. The basis of comparison for this proposal are the pre-existing and operating dog and daycare and boarding kennels in the former City of Toronto, which is shown on this map chart in front of you here. With regards to the mixed-use areas policies, The proposal provides for new jobs for the city's growing population, sustain well-paid, stable, and self-fulfilling and safe and fulfilling employment. It's on all female-owned and operated dog daycare and boarding. If you can jump to attachment B, we can I show you a zoning map. And here we see that the along Eastern Avenue, we can see in close proximity subject lands are E employment and industrial zones, and these E zones shown in purple on the map before you permit kennels. And we could see along Eastern Avenue, the E zones immediately abut the R zones to the north on Eastern Avenue. And as I've mentioned before, these E zones permit kennels. So we also have an existing context in the immediate context that an E zone permits kennels immediately adjacent and across the street to the R zones, just as experienced in our situation here. We have a street to the north that divides the I2 zone in which the kennel is operating to the R zone to the north. We also comply with the 50, if we were to be located in the E zone, we would be complying with the 50-meter setback requirement from a building containing a kennel to an R zone. We have a 27-meter setback from the building to the nearest residentially zoned lot line. We've also conducted a review of the city's investigation activity database with regards to noise bylaw violations, because I understand this has been raised in some of the ejection letters. And we saw that on the city's investigation activity database by bylaw violations that there are no noise bylaw violations that relate to this operation. And we also researched every single dog boarding and daycare kennel in the former city of Toronto, which also showed that there were no noise complaints lodged with the city's bylaw enforcement. Also in relation to this, my client commits to the construction of a visual and noise wall in the rear yard of the subject lands, and that was provided in the supporting documentation to prove that that is the intent. And should the committee decide to recommend that or secure that as a condition, my client is amenable to that. So also the industrial zoning of the lands has existed at least since 1986, which permits a range of industrial land uses along the Eastern Avenue corridor, such as a manufacturing plant is also permitted on these lands. And so the zoning of this industrial use, the industrial uses on these lands are well established. But also to link it to this, the kennel use as shown and evidenced in the chart that has been provided to you in my planning rationale, most of the existing city's dog daycare and boarding operations exist within mixed use area designations and in CR zones. With that, the applicant has attempted to reach out to the councillor's office, who was unfortunately unresponsive to their request, because I understand a dialogue was wished to be had. I understand that there was also discussions with city planning at the outset of this application, even before it was submitted, which they indicated that they would not be supportive. However, they did not provide a reason to or a rationale to me as to why. And in my review of the city planning's staff report, I do note that this is not an industrial use.
Can I ask you to wrap up, please?
Yep, I will wrap up certainly. Where the adjacent and nearby uses certainly are industrial uses, such as beverage manufacturing, vehicle repair, and maintenance, and the metals recycling facility to the east. And just to wrap up, the city also identifies the kennel as a retail and service use in their own chart for permitted uses in the E zone that's attached to my addendum planning rationale. And I would certainly appreciate any comments from the committee and be able to respond to the comments by the surrounding neighbors. Thank you.
All right, we'll hold our questions till we hear from the opposition, and then we'll have you back. Do I have either Terry or Catherine Fagan on the line?
You have Terry on the line.
Hi. Can you just state your full name and address for the record?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Terry Fagan. I reside at 10 Brick Court, which is in sound of the Solmut's property. Just as an aside, while waiting for your technical issues to be resolved, I heard barking outside. I went out, I'm in the second floor, my second floor bedroom. I went outside and sure enough, the sounds of a number of dogs barking came from Solmutz. I thought it was rather ironic when they're asking you for a variance today. Thank you for the educational materials you provide on your website. I'm not a land use planner. However, the on-site information provides the detail to object to the application on simple planning grounds as set out in my letter to you. As the committee is well aware, there are 4 requirements for variance to be accepted. This application fails on all fronts, as supported in reference in the 12 letters of objections from area residents, from the community planning, from the zoning examiner, from the councillor Paula Fletcher, and objected to by 25 residents who signed the petition of objection. While the applicant does have a petition from the people who use their facility, none of them live within, certainly not within sound, not on Brickport, Leslie, or Sear Street. The 4 requirements for variance are not met in this application. This is not a minor variance, not a desirable use of the site, not in keeping with the city's zoning code and bylaws, not in keeping with the city's official plan. Now that's a lot of nots. Nor does it comply with the city noise bylaw, evidenced by the applicant accepting a fine of $1,000 on the basis of noise pollution. How the planner from C2 can state that there is nothing on file when a city court fined them $1,000. Allow me to quote from Councillor Fletcher's letter, which quotes from the community planner. The proposed land use variance fails to maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan. The use variance is not minor in nature and is not desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land. Let me also quote from the C2 planner himself, as he stated a few minutes ago, and I'm quoting, "We highlight that the former City of Toronto bylaw contains no permission to any lands for kennels or boarding, end of quote." I'm close to the end. And a voice which has not been heard from is New Hope Leslieville, a 60-bed shelter for homeless men, which is a mere 15 meters from the west side of this property. In summary, many of you, many of us own dogs. In fact, most of the discussion of this application was held in the local dog park, where residents would chat about how dogs in the Solmarts would bark, and their dog in the house would reply and would start barking. However, for a variance, the committee often deals with the future, what will happen, with what might be. There is no might be here. This illegal variance has existed for a year, for 12 months. We know the impact it has had and will continue to have if this major, not minor variance were to be approved. The applicant, Ms. Fodero, has her heart in the right place. Unfortunately, her business is not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Do I have Lauren Hancock on the line?
I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Lauren Phillip Hancock. I live at 4 Brickport.
Great. I'm resetting the clock and I'm starting it now. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, I agree with almost everything Terry said, but my name is Lauren Hancock. My partner, Gabriel Luongo, and I live at 4 Brickport. I've lived here since June 2019. Living at 4 Brickport has been great until November 2020, more than 1 year ago now. Since so much moved in, our life has been turned upside down by the constant barking and yelping coming from Solmutz. Since moving in, Solmutz owner has shown no care or concern for the neighborhood and its citizens. There may be some support for Solmutz coming down to Solmutz clients, but of course this will be due to the having their barking and yapping dogs out of their own homes and next to ours. I'm certain these folks don't care about our homes, as for financial interests that may be brought up by so much, the good neighbors of mine have their life savings invested in their homes. I'm sure sorry. I'm just missing my spot here. I'm sure I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer or a planner, but it is obvious that this is not a minor variance, but a major variance, and will affect the neighborhood negatively and must not be allowed. That's what I have to say.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Were you finished? I wasn't sure.
Hi. Yes, that's what I have to say at this point.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hancock. Do I have Munir Danani?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Yep, Munir Danani, 49 Leslie Street. I'm approximately just under 100 feet away from Solmutz.
Okay, I've started the clock. You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything that Lauren and Terry have said. I mean, just to express the fact that, since November last year, being stuck in the middle of COVID, been living there since 2016, have never had any issues with neighbors or noise complaints. And just living through the fact that some of us, if not all of us, are stuck working at home 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And, my colleagues can hear the dogs screaming on the other side of my house through the Zoom calls. So that's one thing. And another thing is, my girlfriend does come home to my place with her dog on the weekends. And to Terry's point, we can hear dogs barking throughout the weekend, no matter the time of the day, even at 3 in the morning. That indicates that there's nobody supervising the dogs as well. They're being left on their own over the weekend, which is negligible. So nothing else to add here, just it does impact our ability to even actually function at work.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Danani. Do I have Zina Tofano?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Again, if you could identify yourself, name and address for the record.
Yes, it's Zina Tofano at 8 Brick Court. And I would just say that I'm going to agree with Terry and Lauren and Munir about the noise and the discomfort of having them there and the difficulty with them opening the gate. On one occasion, it did blow down and caused a ruckus there. But they seem to be a constant problem over there. So I don't have much to add. It's all been stated already. So I just add that I agree with everything that my neighbors have said. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I don't think we have any questions, so I'll move on to the next person, Justin Brown.
Relate what everyone else is saying as well. It's been 1 year since
Justin, sorry, Justin, can you just state your name and address for the record, please?
My apologies.
No
Justin
problem.
Brown, 47 Leslie Street, M4M 3C3.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
So it's been 1 year since we've been dumped on this doggy daycare with kenneling overnight. It's just not working out. I think that this is how we can prove that commingling doggy daycares in residential neighborhoods is just not viable. It's failed all 4 tests miserably when it comes to the application for the variation. And I do understand what C2 is saying with their consulting and people liking or whatever the case is with the service that's being provided. But what's not understood is when people are dumping their dog off at a doggy daycare. They get to go enjoy their life while we're stuck at home living basically a nightmare with constant, incessant barking 24/7. I can go out for a smoke at, say, 6 a.m. on a Sunday, and the neighborhood is dead quiet except for incessant barking. This just does not fit within the neighborhood at all, period. And I do know what C2 says, but I think what they also failed to put in the document that they provided, that there's residential neighborhoods within 25 to 30 feet. So I think that whatever C2 and whatever customers are saying is a moot point. They're not the ones that have to endure the incessant, constant barking. I just find that it's a failed test on what's going to happen in Toronto, especially with the pandemic. And I also do note that I'm not going to speak for our great councillor Paula Fletcher in reference to there is a need for compliance in Toronto. So to implement a doggy daycare / kenneling overnight service into a residential neighborhood is just, I mean, it just speaks to common sense and logic that it's just not viable. And I will make a note that I am a provincial inspector with compliance, and this we would just never get away with this. I mean, my registrants just wouldn't get away with it. So I think I'm gonna end on this note. And also, we all love dogs. We don't want the worst for anything, but it's just not conducive. And just as C2 said, and Alison Ferdero, they were on Commissioner Street, which was a commercial property away from the residences. That was conducive. This is not conducive to our neighborhood, and we're going in a very, very positive direction right now with regentrifying. We have new condos going up, and I don't want to even call them my neighbors. I call them my friends. And this seems to be a topic of our conversation, and it's caused a lot of problems with mental health. It's caused a lot of problems with noise, and I must add on to that as well that I don't understand what C2 said, that there was no complaints. There's an ongoing complaint with 311 right now, and Alison Fordero, that does own Solmutz, has admitted guilt to that and has accepted the $1,000 fine. It is so hard to get a conviction in the city of Toronto, any big city, to get a noise conviction, and she got one. So I'm going to leave off on that, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? All right, thank you, Justin. Mr. Chan, are you there?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, so you have 5 minutes to speak to the concerns that have been raised.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank the surrounding community for the comments. Just to address the noise, I do realize that Ms. Fodero was charged for one instance of noise, and I'm advised by her that this was a charge that was settled in court prior, and that was pertaining to the initial construction after moving into the building and not because of the operation itself. With regards to noise bylaw violations, again, we conduct an investigation activity search of the municipal licensing and standards noise bylaw, and there was no charges or investigation activity that was noted for the past year on the city's own database. So there is no documented evidence of this. I do realize that in the councilor's letter that there were noted some noise violations, but in order to check this, I definitely went onto the city's database, and on top of that, extended that search to every single dog boarding and kennel operation in the former city of Toronto. With intent of the bylaw, in my response to whether the proposal meets the intent of the bylaw and questions regarding that from the community members, if we turn to the chart that is appended to my report, then if we're going to extrapolate the conclusion that the proposal does not meet the intent of the bylaw, then all the existing operations in the city of Toronto for dog daycare and boarding kennels in the former city of Toronto pursuant to the old bylaw, and that exists in mixed areas, also don't meet the intent of the bylaw. And I simply can't get to the conclusion that what is being proposed here on a major street in a mixed use area designation in an industrial zoning that provides for manufacturing uses on top of that does not, for an operation for a commercial and service use as a kennel, as identified in the E zone chart, that does not meet the intent of the bylaw for mixed use or for mixed use for industrial zoning. Whereas more impactful industrial operations are permitted to be constructed as of right within 50 meters of that residential zone to the north. Also regarding the impacts of noise, again, the client has committed to constructing this acoustic fence. And again, it's something that is definitely going to be implemented as part of this decision, and should it be required as a condition of approval. With regards to Mr. Hancock's comment, I would like to remind the committee that impacts to the value of homes is not before the Committee of Adjustment. Industrial zoning has been there since at least 1986 in the former bylaw. And the mixed use areas designation has been there at least since 2010. The mixed use areas designation permits a broad range of retail and services uses, of which, in my opinion, the proposed kennel conforms to that intent of that use as provided for in the mixed use areas policies in the official plan. With regards to Meniere, I can certainly appreciate that COVID has highlighted and enhanced any potential impacts because of persons working from home. Of course, under normal circumstances, people wouldn't normally be working from home and potentially wouldn't be experiencing these impacts. I have to have a comment about the allegations of dogs left being alone. Ms. Federo definitely does not provide her operation in such a manner that would treat dogs in that way. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that comment comes without allegation, and I certainly appreciate it, but Ms. Federo definitely does not operate her soul mutts in that way, and definitely cares for the well-being of the animals. With regards to Mr. Brown's comments, I do appreciate that he observed that the previous location for the operation of soul mutts was at 39 Commissioner Street. I do like to note that the zoning for 39 Commissioner Street was also industrial zoning I2, and also did not permit kennels, yet it was located in a zone that was recognized by the city as a use that was okay in an industrial zone on 39 commissioners. Now, I do understand that there is a land use compatibility discussion to be discussed as part of this proposal. But again, if I turn to attachment B of my planning rationale, we can see that E zones are located immediately adjacent to R zones on Eastern Avenue, and therefore it is contemplated and approved in 2013 by City Council, including the local councillor.
Mr. Chan,
that
I need
kennels
you
can be
to
located-
wrap up, okay?
Yes, I
Thank
will.
you.
That are located adjacent to residential zones, and those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Ms. Hayes and then Ms. Valentini.
Yes, Mr. Chan, how many dogs on a daily basis are looked after at this establishment, and what percentage of time are they outside, and is that rear door left open?
I'm informed by the operator that about approximately 25 dogs could be housed there overnight, and that the play area is not operational.
Sorry, not necessarily overnight. How many during the day?
I don't have the exact number.
Have a
But
range?
I don't have the exact number. I can try to get that information from the applicant if she can send me a message. But I can address that during evening hours and overnight. The dogs are not in the outside play area.
Okay, during the day?
And during the day they are, yes.
Just once in a while, all the time, in groups?
They would be occurring in groups
Rain
between,
in and out?
they would be occurring in groups from 9 o'clock until approximately 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Ms. Valentini.
Thank you. You provided the chart that you provided that lists all of the, I guess, daycare. I think I'm just looking for it now. The doggy daycare facilities throughout the city, and you've shown. Let me just turn to it. Sorry. Yeah, doggy daycare and kennel boarding facilities, and you've shown them to be in, you know, different zones, mixed use zones, industrial, various zonings. How did those establish if they're not permitted uses under those zoning categories? Are there variances or what happened? Do you know?
So those are existing operations that we researched, and of course the zoning bylaw under which they fall. We looked up previous planning applications to see whether these operations were approved through minor variance. They did not come up under the doing a zoning bylaw search, however, so I would conclude that these operations existed either the implementation of the CR zone under 569/2013 under the new bylaw, so they existed before 2013, and as such were uses that were deemed to be lawfully non-conforming with the bylaw.
Okay, so but under 2013, none of these uses. Well, I don't say none of them. Some of them are probably, there are a few that are zoned for that. Most of them would not be permitted under 2013 today.
That is
right?
correct. The
Okay,
CR
I just
zone
wanted-
does not permit the kennel use, and also before 569/2013 was implemented, these locations on the chart and Schedule A would be pursuant to the former City of Toronto zoning bylaw 4386. And 4386 outright does not have any permissions in any zone for pet boarding or kennel uses. So
It's going to be my next question. I'm just curious how there's a lot of them, how they just got there. So it sounds like you don't know the answer to that, probably.
well, when we did the search for it, we didn't have any results that came up that showed any variance applications that would have approved these uses. However, without that information, the general conclusion would be that these would be lawfully non-conforming uses to either the former bylaw 4386 and then as the new bylaw came into effect under 569/2013.
Okay, and this is like a database, like a City of Toronto database? Is that how you came up with all these addresses and daycare uses? Like I thought I read somewhere in the material that these are not licensed under as a business license. Is there some sort of, how did you gather all this information?
Yes, so we did an online search to see the other operating dog daycare and kennel services in the city.
Okay,
And
so they
yeah.
may not be legally permitted uses. Because I did note some of them are like, you know, in houses. So I'm assuming that those could be dog walking, and not necessarily boarding. Do you think that's kind of accurate to say that? I mean, there's one on Bolton here. It's a house. One on Quebec Avenue. So the size of the facilities and, you know, the services they provide could be different than what your client's proposing. Is that fair?
Yes, three of the 36 of these would occur in more residential built forms. Yes, we did also discuss this list with the City of Toronto, who also double checked the locations as well.
Okay.
With the City Planning Department.
Okay, so one other question about the, I think it's a zoning chart you provided, the map. It's a map of the surrounding e-zoning. I think it's Schedule B to your one of the planning rationale letters. And you show on the map that where it's permitted under 2013, and I understand that that doesn't apply to this section for whatever reason, the zoning hasn't changed on this section. But across the street, you said that this used to be permitted, and I know this area well, sections of Eastern Avenue, and across the street is, there's Loblaws across the street. I think that's not included, but there's a bunch of other sort of uses across the street. And I think you said that abuts a residential zone. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because those residential zones are on the other side of Eastern Avenue. Isn't that correct?
Yes, if we can see.
Like they're buffered by Eastern Avenue, which is a fairly busy street.
Yes, we can see here that the E zones on the south side of Eastern Avenue are across Eastern Avenue. If we go a little bit more to the west along Mosley Street, which is also a smaller street, or not as wide as with a right-of-way width that's as wide, there's an E 5.0 zone there, and that E zone there would permit a kennel immediately across the street from the RD 1.0 X 807 zone, as well as a number of other E zone areas, such as along Pape Avenue, where you see E 2.0 and Hewlett Avenue. So basically, to explain this map is that it shows a similar spatial relationship to where kennels would be permitted as of right. We wouldn't even be here before you at the committee if the kennel was permitted in those zones immediately across the street or within those, or adjacent to, in fact, in some cases, property lines, such as on Pape Avenue to the existing R-zoned areas. And just to explain that this is a similar situation for the subject site, wherein there is Sear Street to the north, and there is a 27-meter distance from the building setback to the nearest R zone, whereas the E zone provides that a 50-meter setback is required for industrial, for the kennel use to an abutting residential lot.
Okay. The other question I had, I think came from the planning report. It says here, an appropriate commercial, this is from the City of Toronto Planning Department report. And it did say here that basically the zoning category is historic. It has not yet been revised to conform with the new official plan, which designates the site as mixed-use areas. And then it goes on to say an appropriate commercial residential zone category of the City of Toronto zoning bylaw 569/2013 will be introduced in the future to conform with the official plan. And it says overnight kennel uses are not permitted in commercial residential zone category. So I read that to say that the future plans for that site are going to be commercial residential zones. Is that correct? Well, I guess you didn't write it, but that, is that your interpretation of that?
Yeah, where the city planning staff designate in the official plan a mixed-use area, generally in the future, when there's either a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment or a privately initiated zoning bylaw amendment, for example, a developer coming in to buy the block and then redevelop it as a mixed-use development, it would be rezoned to a CR zone category. Yes, so it would be rezoned in the future logically to a CR zone. And
rather than an E zone, which is where the kennels are permitted.
That is correct. And in order to address that, we one of the intents of our research is to find where existing dog daycare and boarding operations were in what zoning was pre-existing in the city. And as shown in the chart, the majority of the existing dog daycare and boarding operations, in fact, exist in CR zoning. And also, as reflected in the E-zone chart, the city's own E-zone chart recognizes the kennel use as a retail and service use, of which the official plan permits in mixed-use areas a broad range of commercial services.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Reed?
Thank you. I just had a question about the noise attenuating walls that you're proposing, and I get that the main issue that the neighbors have is noise. That's the principal thing, and I'm wondering what I guess research or what confidence you have that those are going to actually work and noise won't just spill over.
Unfortunately, I'm not a noise expert, but the client is informed by the contractor that and the estimate of the proposed construction for that wall has been provided to the Committee of Adjustment, is that this would be the sufficient wall height and a construction that would attenuate any perceived or actual impacts of noise. There will be a required height and a wall thickness to achieve soundproofing. And that would be occurring along the perimeter of the dog run.
Okay, anyone else have a question? Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of observations. If my understanding is correct, and from the comments that I've heard, we have a business currently that is non-compliant. And the application basically is intended to legalize a non-compliant activity. I think there are a couple of other things. We've all heard the complaints from the neighbors immediately to the north about noise. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from the Salvation Army facility right next door, where individuals who seek some comfort and quiet for a night because they're homeless, we haven't heard from them, and I likely will not hear from them, but I am cognizant of the fact that they would be impacted as well. I also am cognizant of the directions or rather recommendations that come from planning. I am not comfortable with approving this application at all, and I would not be supporting it.
Any further questions? Do you have a question, Mr. Bayat? We're not in committee yet, but no?
Madam Chair, I just have a response to Ms. Hayes' question regarding the number of dogs that would be at the location.
Okay, great, thanks.
So I can answer that, that'd be great. So I'm advised that there are during the day 40 dogs that would be as part of the dog daycare, and for the boarding overnight, there would be between 10 and 15 dogs that would be boarded overnight. And they, during the evenings, they would be coming out for short periods for pee breaks, for example. Biological movements, I guess would be the polite term.
Sounded like you said tea breaks. So biological breaks sounds better. Okay. Any other questions, panel members? Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's take it into committee then. Mr. Bayat, I'll go to you because maybe you just want to repeat what you said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned earlier, this application is attempting to legalize a non-compliant use of this facility. In addition, having heard all the responses from neighboring residents immediately north of the facility, I am not comfortable with the application as it stands, and therefore I would not approve the application. And if my colleagues don't have any objection, I would certainly be in favor of moving a motion to refuse the application.
Okay, does anybody have a comment before Mr. Bayat moves the motion? No? Okay, go ahead, sir.
I move to refuse the application as presented, Madam Chair.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Reid? So I have a motion to refuse the application, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously refused. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Madam Chair, before we continue, perhaps maybe we could just message to those that have joined for the 2 o'clock session that we were experiencing many technical difficulties this morning, so we are a bit behind, and we appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you.
So are you're going to put a message up or anything, or just, I guess, can you put something at the bottom that the afternoon hearing is delayed? No? Okay, well, for those of you who, are here for the afternoon session, we basically started over 3 hours late due to technical difficulties. So we are now starting item 9. I'm hoping to do 9 and 10 together if that's possible. We'll do the best we can to catch up. We're not going to catch up time-wise, but we're doing the best we can to move through the agenda as quickly as possible. So we're going to, panel members, we're going to do item 9 and 10. We'll do them together. It's 170A Emerson Avenue, that's item 9, and 170 Emerson Avenue is item 10. We have the same correspondence for both of them. We have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations before us, a previous decision that affects the subject property, a support map submitted by the applicant. We have an engineering report that has conditions on item 9, so 170A Emerson, and both of them are forestry is asking for condition number 3. We have 13 form letters in support from owners on Emerson, St. Clarence, and Lapin Avenue. And for item number 170, which is item 10, we have 172 Emerson expressed concern. I'm just looking here. I do show one speaker who's in interest. Do we have them on the line? No. Okay, and we don't have that speaker on the line. So if I can go to the agent, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. My name is Mike Oliveira. I'm the agent on behalf of 170 and 178 Emerson. I want replacement design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Okay, you're back with us again. And just as an FYI, I don't know if your mic is flipping back and forth, but you're kind of going a little bit in and out. Having said that, I don't think we need a presentation, but I'll check with the panel and see if there's any questions on either one of these items. Mr. Bayat.
Just a quick question. It's variance number 3, the landscaping, soft landscaping. My question to the applicant is there any way that soft landscaping could be greater than the 45% that you've indicated?
There's certainly an opportunity to maybe shrink the walkways a little bit to give a little bit of an additional percentage. We've tried to mitigate the area as much as possible here. As you can see, we're kind of sharing the walkway through the center of the 2 properties to try and give as much soft landscaping as we could, while still providing walkways to the basement walkouts as well. So we can perhaps shrink those a little bit. I'm not sure what the exact number would be off the top of my head here without doing the change, but it's something we could look at, or perhaps permeable paving or something instead.
I think the permeable paving sounds like a brilliant idea always. I think we're just very cognizant of the fact that with the increased rainfalls that we're having, not only in British Columbia, but even here, that soft landscaping is increasingly more desirable. So I appreciate any possible changes that could be made. That would be great.
Anybody else?
Yeah, certainly.
Ms. Hayes?
Just one point of clarification, just looking at the plans. 170, is there going to be a secondary suite in 170? I just noticed 3 laundry rooms.
There's no proposal at this time. We have multiple units. This is a multi-generational home. There going to have their children and in-laws and stuff living in the home as well. So that's why they kind of spread this out a little bit more to make it a little easier for them.
Okay.
We are increasing the density on the lot. As you can see, it's a single family building right now. There's
Fine.
4 units,
Thank,
so.
thank you very much.
Any further questions, panel members? Mr. Reid?
I'm just trying to understand, are there no lot line movements or consents here? I'm not sure of where the existing lot line lies.
So this was originally severed back in 1993. That's the previous decision that was mentioned. So it's just by chance it stayed as a single family dwelling this entire time. We're just now doing the new homes on the property. So we actually already have approvals for the laneway suites in the back. Those are already being built. So one thing I did want to mention is if it's possible to not put a condition for that planning report, just because that is something that's already been built and is under construction. But if not, that I understand that we can deal with them moving forward. But the lot is perfectly divided in the center as is, and that was already approved back in 1993. So we're just going to move forward.
The existing house straddles that lot.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question, Ms. Valentini?
I just missed the last piece that Mr. De Oliveira just said about the condition. Are you talking about the engineering conditions or?
I believe there's a report from transportation that talks about garbage refuge and access to the site for fire departments and all that. That's all been dealt with already in our laneway suite permit application. The only condition really that we're here for in terms of the variances of the laneway suite is that soft landscaping between the laneway and the house itself for both properties. So I believe that's why that's now getting triggered. In the past, I know we've had this happen before where there's kind of multiple applications going on at once, so they don't really realize that we already have the permits for that approved, and they give us the condition anyways. And I know in the past we've had that removed from our C of A decision, so I just wanted to see if that would be possible here as well.
So you've got the approvals, you don't need any of those. You're saying, is there an issue if we put it on just in case, or no? You're saying no?
I don't believe so. It would just make things easier for us moving forward with the rest of the approvals if that wasn't.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we're ready to go into committee. Mr. Oliveira, is there anything you want to add? We've read the materials and we're ready to.
Sorry, can I just jump in?
Yeah,
sorry,
go
I
ahead,
don't mean
sorry.
to do that, but I'm just looking at it, and those conditions are contained in the development engineering report, but it does talk about servicing each semi. So I think we still need those conditions because not all of them have been met. Anyway, just a note to fellow members and the agent that there is still stuff that applies in terms of curb line and positive slopes and servicing.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. De Oliveira, is there anything you want to add that's not covered in the materials? So both engineering reports would apply here to both properties as well as forestry number 3.
That's fine. We're the forestry, and we'll deal with those finding reports moving forward. You pointed out the letters in support of the application, so our clients have done the outreach to me and the neighbors. Understand there was a letter of objection posted. We did attempt to reach out to them multiple times. It's just unfortunate that came in after the fact, so we'll speak to them moving forward, but these are all things we're kind of aware of and we'll deal with.
Okay. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee. We can move a motion. We can do it together. It's forestry number 3 as well as engineering conditions in the August 3rd report for both items 9 and 10. Mr. Reid.
Thank you. I think the 2 applications as proposed are very appropriate. They're restrained in terms of the built form, and they really fit in to the established character, both in terms of depth and height on the street. And so I'll move to approve both item 9 and item 10, both with subject to the conditions of development engineering and urban forestry 3, or excuse me, urban forestry condition 3.
Okay, and Ms. Hayes, you're seconding? Okay, so motion to approve with engineering and forestry 3, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application's been approved unanimously. Okay.
Chair, I just have to step away for one moment, so I won't be on this item. Not because I have a conflict, I just have something that has come up right here. I'll be back after the next item.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, item number 11, 30 Badgerow Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report from Greenprint Consulting Arborists. We have an order to comply from the subject property, as well as comparable notices of decisions in the area submitted by the agent. I'm not showing any speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Leo Mastandrea. I'm the agent for the owners of 30 Badgero.
Okay, welcome back. Let me see if there's any questions for you. I don't think we need a presentation. Anybody, any questions? Ms. Valentini?
Just two. So the floor space index variance, is it triggered because of the dormers? Was the first one.
Yes,
Okay, and I'm assuming what we see today is is what's being proposed, right? Because it's already built? It's not changing.
yes, correct. It's existing, correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions? Okay, Mr. Mastandrea, we're ready to go into committee. Anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
No,
Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Ms. Valentini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Typically, obviously, we want to see people get permits and go through the proper channels before they construct. In this case, I think it's a couple of dormers and the front porch has been reconfigured and whatnot. So I feel that this is very minor in nature. It's already built. It fits within the neighborhood. In my view, it needs a floor test. And so on that note, I'd like to bring forward a motion for approval without any conditions.
And that's seconded by Mr. Bayat. So motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? That's unanimously approved. And please note, Ms. Hayes was not here for this item. Okay, item number 12. 2790 to 2800 Danforth Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a letter recommending approval from Councillor Bradford, as well as a member of Parliament, Nathaniel Erskine-Smith. Do I have the agent on the line?
Tom is here from Baird Architect, agent for the applicant.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Matthew Chong from Baird Architect Inc., agent for the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, please note I don't believe there's any exterior changes. Do you need a presentation? No? Do any of you have a question of the agent? Seeing none? All right, Mr. Chong, we've read all the material. We're ready to make a decision on this. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
Just to note here that given the support from both the Member of Parliament, the City Councillor, and also a neighborhood volunteer comedy group that will be using the space, we feel that this is a great addition to the neighborhood. It's helping to build the community from a business perspective. We're only asking that the theater also be approved along with the cabaret use, which is already approved, just to expand so that the theater can be included.
And just for the record, yeah, we did receive a late submission yesterday from Peter Higgins, president of Queen's Player Toronto Theatre Group, asking they're supporting this as well. Okay.
Correct.
All right, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Reed?
The variance being requested is extremely minor in terms of its actual square meter impact, and I think that this is an entirely appropriate use of the site given the context on the main street, and is a benefit to the area. So I move to approve with no conditions.
Oh boy. Lisa and Zahir, you put your hands up at exactly the same time. All right.
After you, sir.
You want me to go with Lisa? Okay. So, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 13, 74 4 Oaks Gate. We have, or is it 70? Sorry, I think it's 76.
76.
I think the sheet says 74, but it's 76. Okay. 76 4 Oaks Gate. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plan, tree preservation plan, floor plans and elevations, a copy of an updated site plan that shows distances of the building from the shoreline hazard limit and stable top of bank. 3 photographs. We have an arborist report, and we have email correspondence from Ravine and Natural Protection, Urban Forestry. They don't have any concerns. We do have a forestry condition number 3, and TRCA, I don't believe have any concerns. We have 6 form letters in support, which includes the adjacent neighbor at 74. All right, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, ma'am. John Sources, 76 4 Oaks Gate.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? Any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat.
Just a quick question. I wonder if you could just elaborate on variance number 7.
So variance number 7 would be the setback from the long-term stable top of bank.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, we went through the proper procedures with TRCA. They have seen our plans and never had any issues, essentially, with what we're proposing.
Okay, it's one of those flags that goes up, and I know that TRCA did not comment, which means they're presumably fine with it. I just thought there might be some other explanation that you might have, but that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other panel members, any questions? Ms. Valentini?
Yeah, I think it was just stemmed from something that you said, Madam Chair. Did you say we have TRC comments or not? Because I didn't see any either. That's so.
Yeah, I actually don't have it in my notes, but it's on my sheet here, so maybe the sheet's
I see
wrong.
Ravine and Natural Protection, but nothing
RNFP
from.
we had, and we had forestry, but I never in my notes had TRCA, but I'm reading what I was given here, so I think.
Yeah. So do we know TRC is okay with this application, given the top of the bank issue, or I'm assuming?
Yes, from my perspective, we went through the geotechnical and proper reporting prior to even completing our plans, and they were submitted to city staff, and everyone seemed to be in agreement.
Yeah, you just submitted to Ravine, right? Because I'm sorry, like my sort of cheat sheet here conflicts with my own notes and with what my
Yeah, so
members have.
even prior to submitting to Ravine, we went through the whole process with TRCA, completed the hydrogeological reports, and they've come back and provided us with the approvals required, from my understanding, and those were forwarded on to city staff who have reviewed them.
Okay.
So does that mean you have a permit already from TRCA? Is that what happened?
I'm not sure if we have the formal permit, to be 100% honest with you, but we definitely have their blessing.
Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, it sounds like it's possible we just didn't get the material and that there was dialogue with TRCA. Can you just confirm?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Tsordis, we're ready to go into committee to make a decision. Is there anything that you want to add that hasn't been covered in the materials or today?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, we're in committee. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I too was, usually we get something from TRCA even if they have no objection. So that confused me a little bit. But with the submissions of the applicant and what staff have said, having reviewed all the materials on file, I believe that what is being proposed is indeed minor. It's not out of character with the neighborhood, although the platform is large, the impact of that because it's on the setback on the other part of the house at the rear. I don't think that there's any undue impact. And if my colleagues have no further comments, I would move to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 3.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, Ms. Valentini, so a motion to approve, including forestry condition number 3, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Next item, item number 14, 415 Jane Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from transportation. I don't believe they wanted the 2.5 meters from the center lane observed. Correspondence in support from 780 Annette, and then we have opposition from 413 Jane Street, which is adjacent, and I also have that individual listed as a speaker. Do I have the agent on the line?
I'm here right now.
Hi, can you just give me your name for the record?
My name is Lucas Cocomello from Show Engineering, address 2157 Rollins Drive.
Okay, thanks. Do you have the speaker staff on the line? Yeah. Okay, sir, we do have a speaker here on the line who's in opposition, so I'm going to start the clock. You have 5 minutes when you start speaking.
Okay, thank you. So we're here today proposing a 3-story rear yard addition to the existing 2-story first dwelling that's currently on this site, as well as a rear detached garage. Based on what is currently, based on the existing buildings that are around this singular site, we aren't proposing anything that's necessarily abnormal in this area due to the existing buildings adjacent to 415 Jane Street already being significantly deeper than this proposed construction. 413 already is significantly deeper than, in terms of building depth, is already deeper than what the existing building is. We're here proposing just another suite for the rear 3-story addition. Based on how we set up the drawings, doing a 3rd-story addition off the front of the house, off the front of the building, would essentially affect the streetscape when you're going down Jane Street. So that's the reason why we've opted to keep everything within the rear of the property. And based on how where we've situated the actual addition, you likely won't be able to actually see this 3rd-story addition from the street, from the sidewalks, or just driving down the main street on Jane Street. Should you have any questions, please let me know and I'll answer them.
Okay, I think we're going to hold our questions until I hear from the opposition.
Sure.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, hello, do you hear me?
Hi, can you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Radmila Markovic. The address is 413 Jane Street. So I am like the first impacted the owner of the property on the south side of the subject property. And I sent my objection via letter, and pretty much I do have objection on every like a variance that is required. So this is not about like adding the additional suite or adding the third story at the front. This is about building like an industrial building, almost like a giant building, almost to the property line. So I am concerned because of the layout of my building and the characteristic of my building that it will have a significant impact. And also the garage that it's proposed, like the variances from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that it's proposed to be on the like property line, which is like unacceptable because the survey that the property owner might have and that I might have might not be aligned. I also would like to emphasize that I never was approached by the property owner with any plans, so he never had any discussion about. So what I found like by observation when passing by, as well from the city records that I received the information in September 2021. So and that was like a 2-story. Now it's a 3-story building, and I do have a lot of like opposing objection. First, to start with the 3, 4, and 5. Those are not like minor variances. Like number 3, it's a 86% variance. So I cannot consider this as a minor. Like 86% is not minor. Number 4, it's a 26% also variance is above the allowed. This is not like considered like a minor. Number 5, it's a 40% of the variance, building the length. So the most concern is the property line and not enough space between the buildings. So I also gave the samples of my building layout, how it doesn't look as of now. So you can see this, the picture 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the significant like impact on my building. So I will not have enough access to maintain my building property. My building will be altered. The usage, the structure, they will be altered. So I will not have access to maintain my deck, my siding, and so on. So also the building will impact my property, like fence and so on, which is built by my own funds 8 years ago. I don't know how the owner can build the building on the property line or very small, like a gap between the property line. Another issue is even if there is a small gap, like how can this will cause accumulation of the snow, water, everything, and will impact the safety of my building because the moisture might go through my walls and everything because there is no sunshine, there is no air circulation. So I might have experience with the wetness and structure, like overall structure and health of my building. For example, like a full basement, it's only on the front. So the store, it's a half basement. So I do not have a deep basement. So it means that digging the foundation might cause the problems to my building. And I do not have any influence, any like how to say, any rights to do anything. So I will not be able to go behind and to correct any issue that this might cause. So this is my concern. Also very close. I do have a deck. So how that deck, if it's like a 2-story, 3-story, again it's dangerous because it will impact usage of my building, enjoyment of my building, because everything can go through between the roof and the deck. So even the human being might slip out, and the safety of the build of my property and my usage and overall it's not it's a question. Also having the tall building on the property line or close to the property line might cause the safety issue, falling down from the roof, snow melting, whatever it's on the roof might cause the issue to the safety to the people passing by. So I don't think so that the city should allow this to be this will be the first building.
Okay, I need you to wrap up. You're over 5 minutes, okay?
I'm very sorry that there are a lot of issue with this proposal, and 5 minutes is not enough.
Okay, well, I'm
So all
sorry,
my-
but everybody gets 5 minutes and you're over 5 minutes, so I'll give you another 30 seconds, okay?
So I already mentioned in my detail about also garage, issue putting the garage on the property line. There is also issue with the misinformation on this. Looking at the plan, there is no a south side elevation. I didn't see it. There is a mixed match information. Also says that its property line at the rear at the lane will be on the property line, and at the same time it's mentioned from the center of the lane. It's 194, but the lane it's only 3 meters wide. So I don't know from where this information comes. So this is
All right, you're now at 6, you're at 6 minutes, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna cut you off now, okay? Thank you. Mr. Cocomello, are you there? Can you speak to the concerns raised, which are basically what was in the letter that was submitted by the speaker?
So we reviewed some of the concerns that she brought up. So in terms of the foundation and more of the health and safety concerns, we actually ended up hiring a geotechnical engineer as part of the project to make sure the civil stability on this site was not compromised based on the construction that we are going to be doing and construction that's currently happening on site. We currently have a underpinning permit that's been issued back in, if I remember correctly, in September. And the city has all the records of the geotechnical report that was put together for this site, acknowledging that the proposed work that we're doing is not going to necessarily affect the foundation work being proposed for this, for the underpinning itself and the addition that we're proposing right now, the 3-story addition that we're proposing right now. In reference to the garage, the rear detached garage that we're trying to get rebuilt essentially, yes, we're going for zero lot line on this. Is this a common thing with these narrow type lots? Yeah, zero lot line construction is very, very common. Obviously, we're not going to be going and encroaching into any neighboring lots or anything like that. We're aware of what transportation has requested in terms of setting back the actual garage itself, so we have no problem with complying with transportation requirements. The actual height of the building, she mentioned as a concern on her end. The zoning bylaw indicates that we can go 3 stories and with a max height of 11 meters. Right now, we're proposing 3 stories, which is what bylaw prescribes, and 8.2 meters in height. So if we're looking at the actual massing of the building versus what we're actually proposing, based on what the bylaw prescribes, yes, we're asking for more floor space. We're asking for 1.5 times the lot area. But the actual height was trimmed back a little bit due to the advanced variance on floor space and maintaining the existing uses of the existing building that's there. We're just adding an additional unit to the rear, it being the 3-story addition. I'm pretty sure I answered her questions.
Okay, so just I think you stated it, but just to confirm, so you will be maintaining the 2.5 meter setback from the center line of the public laneway?
Yes, absolutely. We have no problem doing that.
Okay. All right, Ms. Valentini has a question for you.
I noticed in the objection letter that the neighbor who just spoke sent, there are windows on, I think, her building on, I guess it would be the south side of her building or the north side of her building. So if you're going to be at zero lot line, what happens in that case? Like you're going to be building, right?
We don't have, we're not proposing any windows.
No, there's windows in her building. It looked like from the photos she sent in, she's a window on that side. So what happens if you build zero lot line to that window?
Do you have a photo?
Well, yeah, we build zero lot line, it covers it. Like that's the unfortunate fact with with this 3-story addition. Yeah, 'cause I have her objection letter open in front of me.
We've
for
got
the
the
setback?
pictures on the screen.
Yep, sorry. Do you not need a variance for the setback of the building along that lot line, or is it just because it's existing for the front half of the building? Sometimes we see that variance, sometimes we don't. So I'm
Yeah, so we're trying
ask.
to maintain, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. So we're trying to maintain what's existing on the lot. And right now, if you're looking at all the buildings, adjacent on 413 and on 411, all the buildings just in general, they're all significantly bigger than what this building is, right? So, for the purposes of, with the client's wishes, we're trying to go and, give him the addition that he basically requested, right? Based on the existing setbacks, right? We're going through a lot line on this, but with buildings like this, it's not necessarily uncommon with narrow frontages.
And what about the other? Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I mean to interrupt you.
No, I just see other windows too. So I'm just wondering, like, do you not need variances? Do you have the requirement in terms of setbacks because there's windows on both sides of them, both buildings?
Yeah. So with the windows, we can take a little that thing to give you an answer right now. It's a little bit. I can't just say what we're going to exactly do with regards to the windows. We could potentially create a little. We can essentially almost narrow in the addition a little bit to do something like that to basically bring in more light to those windows. But right now, we're just trying to get this 3-story addition going.
So then the way I understand it, when I look at the plans and I look at the photos, because to me the photos are helpful, the 3-story addition is going to be higher than the neighbor. I'm pointing at my screen, you can't see, but it's going to be higher to the neighbor at 413, I suppose. And then it's going to, the way I looked at your site plan, it's going to extend all the way back to at least her garage. So basically it's going to be the full length of her backyard to her garage. Is that right? Have I read the survey or the site plan correctly?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so yeah, we are pushing this quite back, but based on, because we typically anticipate planning, community planning to have input on these type of projects, and with community planning not necessarily getting back to us, transportation yes, community planning no. Based on our interpretation on on how these type of projects go, if community planning doesn't have an issue, then we're in a decent position for moving forward on a project. If community planning had an issue, then we definitely address any concerns that they would raise at the time.
Well, just so you know, I do have concerns about that part of the application simply because you're going 3 stories up and back to 0 lot line. I don't know, obviously my colleagues have their own views, but that's why I'm asking these questions, because often we see people's balconies are blocked in, and that's one thing. Sometimes there's setbacks and whatnot, but I mean, you're asking for a depth variance in this case. I understand you're not asking for a height variance, but you are asking for a depth and length variance. So I just wanted to let you know, in terms of my views, I'm not supportive of the application because I think the impact on the neighbors, they have windows and they're basically right up to the lot line. So I think you've responded to that, but I don't know, unless there's anything else you want to add. That's sort of some of the concerns I have about the application.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from in terms of that. The fact that the window's already installed there, this property, we can't force anybody to take anything out or anything like that, right? But the fact that it's in there, I-0 lot line, based on OBC requirements, the windows shouldn't be there. There should have been some kind of consultation with the city in terms of having that window installed, whether it's with the current owner or with the previous owners who own that property. Again, it's not really a topic that I can really address right here and right now. But typically, with windows that close, you need to put it needs to be fire rated, or you put a fire shutter. There's nothing there. And if they wanted to put a fire shutter, it'd be encroaching into our lot. So obviously you can't be encroaching into neighboring lots with whatever the actual proposed construction is, regardless of, regardless if it's a fire shutter, fire safety and all that. You just don't put that there, right? So the window situation, a little bit tricky in a way, but should it be there based on what OBC prescribes? If it hasn't changed in a very long time, no, it shouldn't be there. But, in my position, I can't really say much to it.
Okay, I think Mr. Bayat has a question.
Just a quick couple of questions. One is with the photograph that was shown earlier, the one with the little caterpillar in it. Does that indicate that construction is actually going on right now?
Yes. So right now, we have 2 building permits issued. We have an underpinning permit and we have a interior alteration permit, right? Based on the existing conditions of this building, the rear of the house had to be taken out due to rotting. There was already water damage there and it wasn't going to stay up for that much longer. So, and we also did take down the existing garage just so we can at least get some of the trucks in there, offload material, create staging area for construction, right? So on our end, we couldn't just go and put it at the front of the street because there's not enough space between the 2 buildings to transfer all the material. So everything's got to be done through the actual laneway. So has construction started? Yes. With regards to this addition, no. It's the Weber construction that has been proceeding on this site is strictly for underpinning and the interior alterations that are supposed to be conducted. And then whatever else is uncovered based on the actual rotted wall.
Thank you. And the other question I had was, requirement is 25% soft landscaping, and you're going down to 0.
Yes, we're asking for 0. Again, actually on one of the previous hearings we've had today, I know you mentioned that on as an actual concern. We can definitely implement some kind of softscaping, grass, pergola pavers, in place of all the 0% hardscaping. Could the variance be potentially removed with just permeable pavers? Yes. We can definitely implement something along those lines.
Yeah, it's one of those concerns I have, and I think as a city we should be very concerned about. So it's one of those. It's the variance that I can't support. I have difficulty doing.
Okay, no, I understand where you're coming from along those lines. So if that's a variance that we can, I don't know what you guys can actually do up to this point, just because it's already there. But if it's a variance that we could just kind of like have that rejected, I'm completely open to that. We can replace the whole thing with grass and implement as much grass as possible with the available space that's still there.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members?
Having said that, following up on your comment, with the proposed addition, even if it was all to be softscaping, what percentage of landscaping would you be able to put in?
So on the public hearing notice, we'll try to use that. Item 7. Right now, we got about 15.25 square meters of rear yard area that could be softscaping, right? So at minimum, that's what we can do. But now that we're actually moving the garage back, I think right around that same area is what we can still implement about the 15 square meters of softscaping. Whatever else is available, yes, we can go ahead and put some form of softscape in there to accommodate the drainage issues.
Okay. Any more questions, Ms. Hayes?
Just so for clarity, so with your removal of variance number 13 with respect to the center line, you're going to be moving the garage further into the property? Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely, you're correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, did I miss something? Are you removing variance 13?
Chair, just because earlier he mentioned that he was going to comply with the transportation report condition, I assume that would mean that the deletion of variance number 13.
Okay, Mr. Cocomello, so are you removing variance 13? Because I need you to do it on the record if you are.
Yes, we'll remove it.
Okay, so you are removing variance 13 then?
Correct.
Okay.
I think there is one more question.
Mr. Reed.
Yeah, thanks. It's a question about the parking. I'm not sure why you have are requesting a variance for the parking when you have a garage as part of the plan. Can you explain that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So we were getting closer to the point where the public hearing notices had to come out, and the last minute request from the owner came in where he wanted to have a detached garage. We ended up going with a zoning waiver. So right now, do we have any parking issues? Actually, no, because we have a detached garage where, cars are just located in. So that variance really shouldn't be there.
Okay, so are you removing, you're removing variance 8 as well?
In this case, yes, because the garage is accommodating for 2 parking spaces.
Okay, so you're removing variance 8 and variance 13. Okay. Is that it, or anything else? Are there any other changes to the variances, or just those 2?
Madam Chair, I was just wondering if the applicant would consider an amendment to variance number 7, to indicate that the minimum 25% would be supposed to be maintained as soft landscaping. But in this case, would he be amenable to the idea of having at least 15% soft landscaping in the rear yard?
Mr. Cocomello, I don't know if you heard that. Are you able to maintain 15% landscaping in the rear yard without compromising or changing any other variances?
I think we'll be able to do that.
Okay, you
Yeah,
sure?
you know what? I think. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Yes, we can accommodate for that.
Okay, so are you then amending variance number 7 to read 15% soft landscaping instead of no soft landscaping?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes, correct.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm sorry? Oh, Mr. Cocomello's staff would like you to give it to me in square meters, please.
The actual.
The 15%.
Yeah, sorry, if you don't mind, can you give me a second?
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
$9.15 square meters.
9.15 square meters.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any other questions for the agent? Okay, I think we're ready to go into committee. So we're looking at an amended application. So variance number 7 has been amended to 15%, which is 9.152 square meters. Variance number 8 has been removed, so that's the no parking space variance. And variance number 13 has also been removed, which is compliance with the 2.5 meters from the center line for the ancillary building. Okay. Any comments? Motion? Both? Mr. Reed.
I'll start. I think that there obviously were several issues that got brought up with this application, but I do support it. I think that it is an intensification of an existing commercial street, and I think there are many examples of buildings that are basically completely built out to the lot line, to all lot lines. So while I do sympathize with the neighbor and the window loss, I do see this as a natural evolution of a commercial area, and I think the intensification is a positive. So I support it.
Okay. Did you want to move a motion? Does anybody have
Sure,
any comments? Otherwise, Mr. Reid can move a motion. I think you're good.
Okay, I move a motion to approve the application as amended.
And that's seconded by Ms. Hayes. So a motion to approve the amended application as I listed earlier, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? The application's been approved, and Ms. Valentini, you're dissenting?
That's right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the application has been approved. Ms. Valentini dissents. I'd like to take a break to 3:15. So I think we all need a stretch break. So we'll be back at 3:15 with item number 15, which is 274 Roncesvalles. have to switch it? Because we have 4 speakers. Yeah, if they're all there. Okay. Do we have to say something, or do we just come on and? You can't just do it now, right? Without like leaving the message kind of, no.
Committee members, can you hear me through the mic? Okay, thanks.
Yep.
For those of you who are watching on our YouTube feed, we have to end this stream. So this stream will be ending, and we're going to be resuming on the Committee of Adjustment TEY District Panel 2 p.m. So for those of you, again, who are watching on our YouTube feed, we're going to be ending the stream. You can rejoin us on the Committee of Adjustment TEY District Channel 2 p.m. feed.
So apparently, yeah, Yim.